The Lord be with you. A reading from the Holy Gospel according to Matthew. Jesus said to his disciples, "Do not imagine that I have come to abolish the law or the prophets. I have come not to abolish, but to complete them. I tell you solemnly, till heaven and earth disappear, not one dot, not one little stroke shall disappear from the law until its purpose is achieved. Therefore, the man who infringes even one of the least of these commandments and teaches others to do the same will be considered the least in the kingdom of heaven. But a man who keeps them and teaches them will be considered great in the kingdom of heaven." The Gospel of the Lord. Today I want to talk about you can make a difference. Sometimes we think we can't make any difference, but I think you can make a difference. Yesterday Jesus spoke about, he told the disciples, you are the salt of the earth, you are the light of the world. The salt, no matter how little it is, makes a lot of difference in our food. The same applies to light. Why did Jesus compare them to salt and light? Because these things are not only essential, but they make a lot of difference. There are people today who find it very hard to make a difference. Their absence, their presence doesn't make any difference. Be it in their place of work, even in their home. They don't make any difference. They don't make difference because they live for themselves. They don't live for others. It's always about themselves. And so they are hardly missed by others. To make a difference, you need the courage to be able to stand alone, irrespective of what people would say or what people would think of you. Today, most people want to be where others are. We do what everyone else is doing. Only a few people are thinking of doing things in a different way. Because we don't want people to see us in a way, or we don't want to lose our friends, or we don't want people to criticize us. So we lack the courage to stand on our own. Our first reading today presents a great example. Prophet Elijah stood on one side. There were prophets of Baal on the other side. Not 2 prophets, not 100, 450 prophets on the other side. No one has chosen his side. He was on one side against 450 other prophets of Baal, who also have the support of the king Ahab and his wife, a majority of the citizens of the state of Israel at that time. But Elijah had the courage. Why? His courage was confirmed by his trust in God. That wasn't the first time he's doing such a thing. He had built his relationship with God in the past, and God has shown him in various ways that he will never fail him. You remember 2 days ago, we read how God sent him to a place where he was fed by ravens. Do you realize that ravens are the most stingy birds in the world? They are so stingy that when their young doesn't look like them, they don't feed them. That's how stingy they are. But God used raven to feed Elijah when the entire country was suffering from famine. That was a great example to him that he can trust in God and God can support him without fail. From there, as if that wasn't enough, God took him to live with a widow. We read it in our gospel in our first reading yesterday. How Elijah spent time with this woman who had nothing, A widow at that time had no social status. They have nothing. They are like a nobody in the society. But this was a person that God used to feed Elijah. So God provided for him out of nothing. And so this wasn't something too great for him. He doesn't think this is too much for God to do. And that was what gave him the courage to stand alone. And so when he came to this point, he wanted the other prophets of Baal to re-examine themselves. He told them to test their God and see whether they are the one on the right side. Because he knew, he was convinced that what he had is the right one. Even though the king was against it, even though the social media was against him, even though everyone was against him, but he was convinced by his faith and his relationship with God. And he made a difference. 400 prophets of Baal prayed to their God. No response. And when Elijah prayed, fire came down from heaven. The God you serve today is not the God of Baal. It's a God of Elijah. And you can make a difference. But to make a difference, you need the courage to stand alone. Jesus expressed that courage in our gospel reading today when he tried to do things in a different way, not just keeping to the spirit of the law, but going beyond, not the words of the law, but go beyond into the spirit of the law. The people accused him of breaking the law. And he said, I haven't come to break the law. I have come to fill them to the full. That is what it means by to fulfill them. What you have, what Moses gave you, is not full. It's only 1/4 of the requirement. It's the minimum requirement. I have come to fill it to the full. I haven't come to break them. I've not come to trash them. I have come to fulfill them. He wasn't afraid of what the people would say or what the people might think. He stood on his way, he stood his ground, and he made a difference. The first reading brings us to mind again when Elijah spoke to the people, how long will you stand on one foot today and on the other? My dear friends, this is where the point lies. We cannot continue to be on one side today and on the other. Today you're on the side of God, tomorrow you're on the side of the world. You have to choose a side. Until you choose a side, you can never make a difference. How do you respond to the people around you, your family members, your co-workers, people who don't believe in God, people who don't share your faith? How do you respond to them? Do you join them or you try to stand on your own? Let us pray that God will give us the courage he gave Prophet Elijah, so that the world again will experience in us sons and daughters of God who stood by him, and with God you can make a difference. May God bless you.